Mr. Shuaibu.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
And how's your married life, mashallah?
Improving every day.
Improving, good. It's quite the opposite of some people.
Yes, sir.
It begins to deteriorate after the marriage.
Yeah, because
But yours is improving,
yeah,
mashallah.
everybody I see tell me you're getting fit every day,
You're getting fitter.
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
Okay. And your wife is very happy, I hope.
Yeah, she was just telling me yesterday that she must come to see you because it's been a long time she's come down to see you. And
she's from Christian background, isn't she?
No, a Muslim background. No, I am from a Muslim background. Yeah. My wife is from a Muslim background.
But who was it from Christian background? You're from Benin, aren't you?
I'm from the mid belt of Nigeria.
That's another one.
But I have stayed in Benin and I joined the Jamaat in Benin.
Right.
And my accent is Benin. Mm-hmm. So most of the time I have been mistaken.
The people who live mostly around the area where you belong,
yes,
are Christians.
Yeah, you have very small percent of Muslims.
So that is why I mistook you for a Christian.
Yes,
because I remember long ago you told me you were from Benin.
Yeah, and
that particular area is full of Christians.
Yes.
And also your wife, I thought she was from a Christian background because when she came to meet me,
yes,
you remember first time?
Yes,
3 years ago?
No, 1982 November.
So that was the first time?
Yeah, the very first time.
1982?
November.
1982?
Couldn't be.
1992. 1992.
92,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, 92.
She courtesied,
Yeah.
It's a very special style,
yeah.
Popular among the Christian ladies, but not among the Muslims in general. But in Nigeria, I think this is also shared by Muslims. The special courtesy, they do it to the Queen here in England.
Yes.
So that also, strengthened my impression.
Yes, sir.
That perhaps she was also from a Christian background.
No, her parents are Muslim, very strong
very
Muslim.
Good, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So shall we start now?
Yes.
So it's a Nigerian group today.
Yes, sir.
Have you brought some children for singing us some songs, taranas? Or?
No?
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time, inshallah.
Okay. Shall we start?
Yes,
We are
sir.
going to
So the two brothers belong to Aminu family.
Aminu.
Sultana people.
Of course, I was. Who is going to work as a moderator among you? You or?
I'll do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's start, please.
This question has been bothering me from a very long time, especially in Nigeria. We kind of have it in our mind that a Muslim is not supposed to smoke cigarette.
I see. In Nigeria?
In Nigeria, among the Muslims.
Right.
But the first time I came to England, I saw among the very big number of Muslim communities
Smoking
freely. Smoking freely, and nothing as if it's nothing wrong with it, And I was very surprised. Then, after a very long time, I have listened to you talk about this, I think. It's not clearly mentioned in the Holy Quran that smoking is haram or something like that. But with the present, I think 2 days ago, I was listening to Sky News. It was confirmed that cigarette smoking claims about 300 lives in the UK every day. And there's no benefit from smoking. No benefit has been mentioned in favor of smoking.
But have you also listened to those programs which tell you that antibiotics cause so much cancer and that thing causes so much cancer and this death and polluted water and everything? You know how many deaths are caused in Nigeria by drinking polluted water?
Quite a lot.
Why don't you declare it haram? The point is, why do you confuse things?
Yes, sir.
There are poisons and there are harams. There are two different things. Poisons may cause danger to health and may also ultimately cause death. And there are harams of which we do not know definitely why they are haram. Why they are forbidden, I mean. Haram is the word in Islam for something forbidden. So when Allah says this is haram, we accept it. And we continue to search deeper into the issue, trying to find out the underlying reasons. But that is irrelevant as far as the Hormuz is concerned. We do not consider something haram because we understand why it is so. As long as we know it is from Allah, He desires us to abstain from some certain things, immediately we start doing that. So Hazrat Masih Maud has clearly mentioned this issue which you have just mentioned, and I spoke on this on various television question answer sessions as well. Masih Maud said that whatever is halal or haram has been made clear in the Quran and in the Sunnah, in the light of the Quran. And no one can add a jot to that or subtract a jot from that. Now, if Masih Maud could not, who was the Imam of the age, the Mahdi, the guided one, who else could? So I don't care what Nigerian mullahs believe or what Nigerian people believe, as long as the Quran and the Sunnah do not say that, we must not consider it as haram, but injurious. It can cause cancer, lungs cancer, and so many other problems. And so up to that you should propagate. You should tell people that it's waste of energy, waste of money, waste of health, and also you pollute the air, and with the result that other people also suffer. Now this sermon you can carry on giving, but you have no authority to speak on behalf of God in declaring this is haram. You see? And now I tell you why it is so in Nigeria and also in some parts of Ghana perhaps, in some other countries. You know, in those countries, the Christians who were very free in their way of life, when they drank, they also committed other sins. And they were very promiscuous in their relationship with women. And also they smoked. So it was as if so deeply related, drinking and free life and smoking, that Muslim scholars thought that if you permitted somebody to smoke, then he would also do the other things. And that was a sort of preventive measure adopted by them. And by mistake, the Ahmadi missionaries also did that. Now, they thought we would benefit from it, we will prevent Ahmadis from smoking. Well and good, but at what cost? At the cost of inventing a new Sharia. That is too high a cost to pay for that. One should try other means. Why to attribute things, to God or to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even in the name of goodness? This is a principle you must clearly understand. Otherwise, what you see in the history of ahadith, as they were collected, there were some simple-minded people who thought when we tell somebody to do good or prevent someone from doing bad things, we may attribute these things to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they invented hundreds of thousands of ahadith, imagine, polluting the whole, the stream of the traditions which reached us, and creating doubt about this and that. And everything they did was in the name of goodness. It's not a question of whether you have good intentions or bad intentions, it's a question of truth. You must serve the cause of truth with truth and with nothing else. You see, they say that the pavement to hell or road to hell is paved with the intentions of good, with the bricks of good intentions.
Yes.
The Holy Quran is very clear on this. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. They admonish with haqq, with truth, and they admonish truth. Both are the meanings of this verse. They admonish truth, but never use foul means to achieve a good purpose. So to attribute this to the Quran or the Sharia that smoking is haram, that is a bigger sin than smoking itself. Right?
Yeah, actually, I'm not
Yes.
saying
I know you don't seem to be satisfied,
I am satisfied.
but
I
why
am very
is there so
yeah,
hesitation?
I am very satisfied
But-
because it's already made clear
Yes.
before that
Yes.
we cannot invent a new law, which I totally agree,
Absolutely.
100%.
But-
What I'm saying is, will it be wrong if it's made clear among the Ahmadis that smoking is harmful for your health and there is no Islamic backing?
But who doesn't know that now? Tell me, why Ahmadi, all the whole world knows. The atheists also have programs on television. I mean, this is something which humanity suffers from. It's a common knowledge and a common threat, and propagation should be made to this effect. But why single out Ahmadis or Islam for launching a jihad on this on religious grounds? You should do it on humanitarian grounds. And you see, we have suffered a lot because of this mistake of some early Muballighin. When they declared to the Ahmadis also, instead of advising them clearly where they stood, they should have condemned smoking, but not on behalf of the Quran and the Holy Rasulullah. If so, only to the extent that it is one of the useless or harmful things which should be shunned by Muslims as such. Up to that it's okay. But they went one step forward and declared it as haram as it was drinking and things. Now when Africans started reaching Rabwa and Qadian, before Rabwa Qadian, and they innocently had believed that this is against the law of Islam, it is as bad as drinking, as bad as a free life. Many of them almost, were shocked to the extent that they thought of renegading. Look at these Ahmadis walking in Qadian and smoking. Although it was not encouraged to smoke in public, if somebody smoked, they said, all right, please, for the sake of society, save the children from bad influence, you better smoke privately. I mean, it was not hypocrisy which was advised, it was to save the society from the influence of public smoking, because then the children, catch up, this habit by being impressed what's happening, that sort of thing. And they, out of this, in being intrigued by people smoking and what they feel, they start doing it. This is how it spreads. So, to save such children and youth, Hazrat Muslim Maud used to stress very strongly, that at least our streets should be cleansed of the pollution of smoking. But it was not because forbidden, so no stern measure was taken against it. On Jalsa Salana, many people came from outside, and so many among them were non-Ahmadis too. And they kept smoking along the streets, of course not as much as in other cities, but to a degree that no African could fail to notice that. And to their shock and chagrin, look here, where have we come, And Sharia laws are violated. If they were saved, it was by the grace of Allah, but if they had lost their faith because of this, who would be responsible? Those early Muballighin would have a share of that responsibility. So instead of advising them correctly as to the Islamic position, they started taking into hand that which Hazrat Masih Maud did not. That is the difference between a highly, guided person, a person who is deeply drenched in taqwa. He it is who should have done it. So he said, no, this is not my master, the Holy Master is the last in Sharia, and nothing would be added, nothing would be taken away from it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Dear Hazur, In one of my
I mean, see, these programs, African particularly, should be earmarked for the African programs which are going to start very quickly now. And inshallah, I hope before 21st, we'll have a daily 3-hour program for Africa plus 1 hour specifically for African languages. And I hope they start making programs, and why don't you try here? Because by the time these programs reach there and they learn that our own languages are being spoken, I mean, our programs are reserved for our languages, it will be very late. We may have some empty time. So I advise you and other African Ahmadis here in London to immediately start making programs, interesting programs. You can find time with them. You know, you better give them time to come and have these recorded, or tell Hayat Group, they are generally here, they should start recording programs. You use your own languages. And do you all speak one language or different languages?
We speak different languages, but we have a kind of
Lingua franca.
Lingua franca. We
Which
speak
one?
broken English. Everybody understands.
Oh, that of course I know. But I'm talking of not that lingua franca. I'm talking of the language of the tribe, of the tribes or regions.
Unfortunately,
Tell me, you're two brothers.
Yeah.
Which language do you speak?
Yoruba.
Yoruba. And Yoruba is spoken in which particular area? East, west, etc. Bring it closer. Bring this microphone closer. Yes, all right.
Lagos, or
Still closer.
your Lagos,
Lagos.
or your state.
Ojokoro?
Yes, Ojokoro,
Ojokoro, yes.
Ondo state.
mostly south part of Nigeria.
South.
Yes. South.
And if you go southeast, then it is Igbo, I think.
Yeah, Igbo.
Huh?
Yes.
That's the language which is spoken mostly by Igbo, who
By
are
Igbo.
Christians largely.
Yeah.
Right. So, sorry, Yoruba is generally Muslim, or I mean, are the Yorubas Muslim large numbers?
Very large numbers.
Huh?
Very large number of Muslims
But
in Yoruba.
Large.
Mr.
Not
Habibu
larger.
disagrees with that.
large but not
No, they are
larger.
not the largest Muslim population
So,
in
out of
Nigeria.
Yoruba tribes,
Yeah.
how many would be Muslims and how many Christians and how many pagans?
I think there are more Christians than Muslims in the Yoruba tribe,
Right?
because overall Nigeria,
No, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, okay.
Let's stick to this.
I think there are more Christians than Muslims, but there are a large
But-
number of Muslims.
Among themselves, how would they be divided? How would they be rated?
Almost
What percentage would you ascribe to Muslims and what to the Christians? Among the Yorubas, I mean.
I would give about maybe 40% to Muslims, 50 to Christians, and the remaining 10%
this is
other
what-
religions.
this is opposite to what you are saying.
Yes, sir. I think it depends on everybody's view, because
Yes,
even
but-
Jamaat
No, it depends on
Ahmadiyya,
facts, of course.
yeah,
It's not a
even
question of
Jamaat
views,
Ahmadiyya,
but your estimate may differ
yeah,
from him.
yeah, even
from
in
his.
Jamaat Ahmadiyya, you have almost 98% Yoruba.
That's right.
That's true.
And they all mostly hail from Muslim tribes,
Yeah,
not from Christians.
most member of the Jamaat are originally Muslims, although you have few Christians who
Right.
who changed to
Right.
what you call
And-
it.
And
Yeah,
as far as other regions are concerned, there they mostly hail from Christians
yeah,
in other religions.
yeah,
But in Yoruba, they almost all hail,
yeah.
98%.
The good percent of
Very
them.
good, very good. And so Yoruba is a language spoken by what percentage of the country?
I would say 30%.
About
Yeah, about
Yeah,
30%.
30%.
Yeah.
And so you all Yorubas, all of you are
No.
Yorubas, no?
No.
Who is Yoruba among you? You both brothers.
Yeah.
And you, Habibu?
I'm from Edo, what used to be Bendel State.
Bendel State.
Yes,
That's right.
what
Yes.
used to be Bendel State.
And what language is spoken there?
I speak Afemai. Within Bendel State, there are many languages.
Right.
But mine
And this is one of those.
this is one of those.
A
It's
small
minority. Yeah.
A small tiny language.
Yes. Yes.
But it will not be considered as one of the regional languages.
No.
So which regional language do you speak apart from your own?
It will be what is called Edo, which is spoken in Benin City.
Benin City, yes?
Yes.
It's called Edo.
Edo, yes.
And is it largely spoken?
It's largely spoken in Bendel State, but not outside Bendel State.
So it's not a regional language.
So it's
Yeah,
still not regional, it's a sub-regional.
It's sub-regional, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, because even in Bendel State, Edo is mainly speaking almost around Benin.
Bendel, yeah.
Because if
Right.
you go down to Wari and Saple, they don't speak Edo.
What do you speak there?
What you call it?
There's Robo,
You have Urobo, you have
there's
Shekiri,
Ijo,
Ijo, and so on. So immediately it goes out of Edo. So the three
And
main
are
languages.
these languages related enough so that a person speaking one language can somewhat understand what is being said in the other language?
Yeah, I think the regional language, in my own view, are Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo.
Yep.
yes.
There are three.
those
there-
are
Yeah,
the
there-
these
right
three
ones.
languages, yeah.
Those, and people
Hausa is from the north,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yoruba is south and west,
Yeah.
and Igbo is south
East.
and east.
And these
Yeah.
languages are mostly understood by people from Edo, some of them, people from other part of them. So I would say Yoruba.
So
Igbo.
they share all those who speak small sub-regional or tribal languages. They understand one of the three.
Yes, mostly one
Mostly,
of the three.
mostly.
Yeah.
So if you cover the television programs addressed to Nigerians
yeah.
in these three languages, then you can safely hope that you have delivered the message to all.
I
Yeah.
agree with
Correct?
you. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So that was the purpose of this investigation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
And
better have programs. Do we have Ahmadis here speaking these three languages?
Not really. I think Yoruba,
Yoruba,
yes.
mainly.
Mostly Yoruba.
Hausa and Igbo,
No, but we have got some Hausas. Recently we have got conversions from Hausas in
a lot
from
of
other
Hausa
languages.
Ahmadis in the
What?
north. A lot of Ahmadiyya
In the north.
in the north.
But I
don't
mean
know
here
much-
in London
I don't know
also,
much of it.
recently we had some conversions. So I'm sure there were some Hausa speaking people among them.
Yeah.
But we'll find out.
Okay, sir.
And there will be hardly any who could speak Igbo.
Yeah,
Very few
it's
Muslims
Very
among them.
few Igbos.
There we have, been remiss in our responsibility. As far as the Igbos are concerned, we have done very little to convey the message properly because of, I think, old traditional jealousies and barriers created between the Igbo Christians and the non-Igbo Muslims. But we must do something about it. You better undertake a preaching program to Igbos in UK. And instead of always bringing the other two groups, Hausa and Yoruba, you start searching for the Igbos. There will be large numbers in there.
Yes, they live with us.
Yes. And bring them for question and answer sessions. Inshallah, we'll work on them. Okay. Right. For Igbos, find somebody else. There will be someone who could make programs in Igbo.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, please.
Yes. Hazur, I was going to ask that in one of my weekly Jamaat classes, I was asked this question. It has been said that
Weekly Jamaat classes. Where?
in Southeast London Jamaat.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, it has been said that in the days of the rightly guided caliphs, the countries that were overrun by the Muslim armies were given two choices.
You mean rightly guided caliphs of the first phase of Islam?
Yes,
That's right,
of the
yes.
first phase of Islam.
That's right,
yes.
yes.
That the countries that were overrun by the Muslim armies were given two choices. Either become Muslims or become loyal subjects of an imposed Islamic government and pay the jizya. And along these lines, some present-day Muslims have suggested that an Islamic state should be established, and through that state, Islam should be forced on the rest of the world. Could Hazur throw some light on this, please?
You see, the question should be decided with reference to Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his conduct, and the relevant verses from the Quran. The Holy Quran speaks of this subject in a different light than normally understood by the people. If somebody has overpowered a powerful enemy and he considers the life of his opponent forfeit, he has no right anymore to live because he tried his best to kill a Muslim opponent. He failed and now he has got the upper hand, so he has every right, by all principles accepted by man, he should be killed. But if he says, I am a Muslim, I believe in God, now this is a very exceptional concession given to him, not a coercion to accept Islam. Because the Holy Quran says, if you kill a believer, then hell is your abode. So to save oneself, one does it, not to convert somebody forcibly. That exactly is the spirit. When you read the Quran, there is no other spirit than this, which you understand that if somebody during the war accepts Islam on his own, maybe inside he has that intention of saving his life, maybe he's cheating, but to whom would he be cheating? Whom would he be teaching? It is Allah who is going to decide ultimately. So he can't cheat anyone. He thinks he has cheated. So Allah wants us not to play God, but to accept whatever he says. And after somebody declares he's a Muslim, one has no right to kill him. That is the problem with Muslim warriors, which they always faced in the history and will continue to face. When there is a war between Muslims and non-Muslims, if somebody says, I become a Muslim, he has to stop short. So it was never intended to spread Islam with the help of sword. Nor were they put to sword who gave in and accepted the rule of Islam of a winning, victorious army. No, there is nothing strange and new about it. Everywhere it happens. Whenever a victorious army enters a country, it subjugates them. And Muslim armies also had the same common human right to subjugate those who were fighting with them a battle of life and death. But after subjugation, even if they had not accepted Islam, they were never put to sword. Never. They were given peace, but they had to live like a people who had been conquered, and they must obey the law of the land. So what is wrong with that? As far as the law of the land is concerned, there was no Sharia law as such which governed the Muslim states. The issue is invented only by the modern day Muslims. The best model of Islamic state that could ever be conceived was the model of the Islamic state during the lifetime of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. Now people don't perhaps know or do not want to understand these things in the proper perspective, but it is a hard fact that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given state authority before Islam had become victorious in the whole of Arabia. That happened in Medina. When he entered as the one who sought shelter. You see, those who seek shelter, they are not handed over the state authorities. But imagine what a tribute to his character it was. He was accepted not only by Muslims, but the entire Medina, including Jews, Christians, all of them, as their leader. And a Misakh Medina was signed, in which this rules and law, rules and regulations governing this new state city, like Roman state cities, were to dictate the style of government and decisions, etc. Now this is called, in English it would be said Charter of Medina. In Arabic it's Misaq-e-Medina. So this is known as charter. In that charter, Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is given the final authority to sit on every dispute, regardless of whether the disputants are Muslims or a mixture of Muslims and non-Muslims. He would be the last authority. And how did he decide? He always gave option to a non-Muslim party, if there were a non-Muslim party involved, as to what would he prefer. Would he prefer to be treated under the common law or under the law of his own religion or under the law of Islam? The choice was his. Nothing was imposed. And nothing was imposed on the people of Mecca when they were conquered ultimately. They did not accept Islam under the threat of sword. It was lifted. Antumut tulaqa, the grand amnesty declaration was made. None of you will be killed, regardless of what you are. See? And then they started becoming Muslims. Was it under the threat of sword? And where was an Islamic law imposed in Mecca? Not to my knowledge, no mention of this is found in history. But Islamic law was imposed. If you understand what Islamic law is. According to the Quran, Islamic law is to rule with justice. That is the only pivotal governing point around which all Islamic laws must revolve, and this is the best definition of secularism. By secularism, some people, mistakenly, some intentionally, try to make people understand that secularism means anti-religious law or a-religious, non-religious. Secularism is a law which is purely just and treats all civilians alike, without any prejudice to their religion, caste, creed, etc. And this exactly is the Islamic concept of state. The Holy Quran says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تُؤَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَى أَهْلِهَا وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. Here the word amana means trust. And it's not a material trust which the Holy Quran is speaking about. It's a trust of vote, of choosing your rulers. So, Allah orders you verily, very strongly, that whenever you discharge your responsibility towards this trust of electing your leaders, do it with fear of Allah. And do it ila ahliha. Give them over this trust to those who deserve to have it. See? Then it says, suddenly, it speaks of a government. So obviously the first meaning of trust is related to government. Because as a result, suddenly the Holy Quran says, وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. And when it comes to ruling the people, governing the people, do it with justice. It doesn't say do with Sharia, Islamia, or do it with this and that. Justice is the core, the central, the rule or the central principle of Islamic way of life, whether it is government or whatever else it is. So, in the shortest possible terms, Islamic government could not be defined better than in this verse. وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ. When you come to rule, then you must rule with absolute justice. Now that absolute justice is defined elsewhere. The Holy Quran says, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَىٰ. Even the enmity of a people should not permit you to depart from justice, to deviate from justice. We warn you, you must always adhere to justice. Edaluhu akhrabu littaqwa. This is closest to the fear of Allah. But if you want to deviate away and move away from the fear of Allah, well, then you know and God will deal with you. But if you are a Muslim, then the principle of government must always be justice, and justice even to your enemies. Now, some mullahs, some Muslim scholars of today, they may try to misinterpret this verse, so by saying that this means among the Muslims, not among the others. They always try to say that. Okay, there is another verse speaking exactly in the same words of the rule of justice, but adding something. Not even the enmity of a people who had religiously done you wrong should permit you to deviate from justice. Not only enemies, but religious enemies, who not only were religious enemies, but had treated you unjustly during their power, their sway, when they were in power, at that time, they were unfair to you. Not even the memory of that should permit you to deviate from justice. So, what more beautiful secular law could be defined than this in the Holy Quran? And with relation to the government, the style of government, this is the only verse or verses which you find in the Holy Quran. And again, if you speak of Sharia, the way it is understood differently. The moment you speak of Sharia as today in this context, it would be impossible for you to define Sharia, because Shia concept would be different, and Sunni would be different, and Arab would be different, and Indonesian would be different, and so on and so forth. Think of the divisions, and there would be a new Sharia concept in this respect or that respect. They have not yet decided whether to punish somebody who had committed adultery or fornication with what? Some people say the Holy Quran is very clear that they should be striped and not stoned to death. The others those who say they are not stoned to death, they are kafir, pakka kafir, they are non-believers, infidels and this and that. And if this is the sharp division on Islam, how Islamic law should be implemented, how can you impose any law in a Muslim country at all with certainty? But as far as justice is concerned, there are no two opinions about what justice is. This is a fundamental universal concept. Go to the darkest jungles of Africa, and there the concept of justice would remain exactly the same as in America, Germany, USSR. You may distort your own self, your own thinking, your own attitudes to be unjust to others. That is a different story. But everybody knows what justice is. So this is Islamic law, and this is what you should tell them.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, it's a pleasure meeting you. If you permit me to just thank you for what you've done for me a long time ago, in 1983. I wrote a letter to you then.
Yes.
You did reply me. I was asking you to pray for me.
Mm-hmm.
The prayer you rendered to me, judging by the letter you sent to me,
Right.
was very, very helpful. It really, really helped me then. I told my dad then. He said, "I told you."
Yes.
That was the answer he gave me then.
Right.
My question to you now, please. In view of the Eid al-Kabir on its way now, will it be right for somebody to sacrifice?
Do you also call it Al-Eid al-Kabir in Nigeria?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, we in Pakistan and India, we call it Badi Eid, which literally means Al-Eid al-Kabir.
Okay.
But the Arabs, rightly so, refer to it as Eid al-Adhiya,
Okay.
the Eid of sacrifices.
Yeah.
And it is also pronounced differently in our country, Eid al-Zuha, which is wrong, but they call it Eid al-Zuha.
Okay.
So you call it Eid al-Kabir,
Yeah.
all over Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
So in view of Eid al-Kabir coming now, and in Nigeria, some people do parties to sacrifice ram for the departed parent during the Kabir. Do you think, I want to know whether it's the right thing to do?
I don't think it has any, sense in this, because you do things for the departed dear ones, be they parents or others, to convey them, to sort of do something, the reward of which will be transferred from you to them. This is the concept. But to sacrifice does not require any reward. It is not an act which earns you some reward, because you do not do it for the service of mankind. You do not do it so that you have served somebody else's cause. You're doing it yourself. You can eat the whole meat yourself as well if you like. You see, and you share it with the poor as well. But it's good to share with other relatives, friends. So it is a sort of common celebration of a sort of festival. So where is the reward of that festival? The Christians, celebrate these festivals of Easter and Christmas, and all other country people in the world celebrate. So you are told to celebrate a sort of, as far as the meat goes, I mean. As far as the spirit of sacrifice is concerned, that also only relates to the person who does it. He does it in the memory, I'm talking of now the religious part, the memory of Abraham a.s. great sacrifice, and the way he was ready to offer even his most beloved son, the firstborn, to offer in sacrifice to God, because he thought that was the meaning of the dreams which were repeatedly shown to him by Allah. So to instruct him and to give him the glad tidings that as far as your sacrifice is concerned, we accept it. But we absolve you of this misunderstood, the practice according to the misunderstood meaning. And as a grace from Allah, there was a wild ram who somehow got entangled in a bush nearby, and Abraham looked up and there it was. So God instructed him to sacrifice him instead. Now there's so much to it than this, but I'm just giving you an example of what this sacrifice meant. Now if somebody does it, the benefit will be drawn by him to his own soul, his own attitude of life. How can this sacrifice correct the attitude of the departed ones in the heaven or somewhere, wherever they are? It has nothing to do with that. But if you do sacrifice for them by way of giving alms to the poor, distributing money or something in kind to the needy, etc., now this is something you serve on their behalf, and it just earns Allah's pleasure. And that pleasure can be can be earned by beseeching Allah on behalf of those who have departed. I always insist, provided that they also used to do the same things. If some departed forefathers or whatever it was, he used to usurp others' rights and sacrifice them on his behalf, then whatever number of goats or sheep you sacrifice on his behalf, they will not be. So it is sort of an expression of helplessness to Allah, that my grandfather, my father, my mother, etc., they used to serve the cause of humanity as long as they lived. It was cut short because of death, which was not their doing anyway. Not their decision, So if we continue doing it, please accept it on their behalf. It has a deep sense in it, right?
Brother Rashid has a question.
Assalamu alaikum, Azam. What was the attitude of Arab Muslim with the Ahmadis?
Arab Muslims, there's so many types of Arab Muslims. Categories and categories of Arab Muslims. There are some who are very well-balanced people who love Islam, but are not, orthodox in the accepted sense in the modern times. They have open minds and open hearts and well-balanced views like the Muslims should have. They are never inimical to Ahmadis, not never. They always come and meet us with love, and whenever they meet me or others when we travel, they always show deep sense of love and appreciation for our being Muslims, whatever type we are. This is not what they're not concerned with. But there are others who are brought up in a narrow-minded instruction by the mullahs who were narrow-minded themselves. So there are also different types, and some of them only understand Islam with relation to the political situation of their country and their struggle for freedom against non-Muslim countries who rule them. So they are only concerned with that much. So to generalize things to the extent that how do the Arabs treat you is wrong. In comparison, I can tell you one thing, that the extremists in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, etc., treat Ahmadis with far more rigidness and lack of understanding than the Arab enthusiasts, their counterpart. Arabs have one advantage over these. These mullahs in Pakistan, particularly in India, they're the worst type of religious leaders in the world. And they will sometimes shut their eyes to logic, simple logic. They will see things and say, no, we don't believe. Arabs, on the other hand, are generally not that rigid. Some, of course, there are exceptions. But mostly I have come across people who were, in the beginning, they were very inimical and hostile in their style of questioning and insistence on what they believed to be right. But after a few, not few minutes, let's say about 20, 30 minutes or half an hour discussion, they mollified, they began to change their views very visibly. And their conduct remained within the purview of decency, etc., etc. So this is the general impression I have of the Arabs. And those who have become Ahmadis are very devout, beautiful people, absolutely. It's fascinating to see Arab Ahmadis, because they are from the people of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For them to to testify the truth of the Mahdi, although he didn't belong this time to their people, he was chosen from a different nation. Yet, for them to be gracious enough or large-hearted enough, or let's say sensible and God-fearing enough, to accept Allah's choice. It is so beautiful. I mean, when you meet such Arabs, when the heart is filled with love to the brim, and this again is their attitude towards you. In general, this is the relationship we hold with the Arabs of different types. Okay?
Huzur, I have one very, very worrying question in my
Achha.
mind. Yeah.
Do you always have boring questions?
Oh,
And
yeah.
why do you quietly? You keep coming to meet me in the various occasions.
Yeah, because
Why don't you unload yourself? And
yeah, because sometimes you already have talked about some of them, and sometimes it's very hard for me to understand.
right?
Some question I go back to Imam Sahib
So
to
you kept waiting and praying that until Allah Mia gives us international television, you would not open your mouth, and when it happens, then of course. no?
Yeah, sometimes I go to Imam and he throws light on some of your answers,
Yes.
and I find out that either I have not been listening carefully, or I
Or
have
the Imam
not.
has not been listening.
No, or I haven't been very broad-minded
Okay.
in my understanding.
Okay, now, please.
In the present time, there's been so much war. It's on the increase all over the world, and so much killing and starvation is going along with it.
Yes.
And already these people already think they are seeing hell on earth. How do we then go to them and preach salvation in this situation?
How would you preach salvation?
Yeah. When they already think we are in hell already.
Okay.
Yeah. How do we preach salvation to them in this condition?
You see, you are so confused with this question that you have also confused me. I don't know where to start and how to handle this question. Now I pity you,
Yes.
the way you have been living in this big confusion. You see, you must understand the basic principle of hell and heaven. What is hell? Hell is to be away from God, and heaven is to be close to God. When you begin to understand this, then everything falls into the proper place and the jigsaw puzzle is solved. Why is the world suffering with wars and atrocities committed by man against man, etc.? Is because they have rejected the religious teachings of Allah. I'm not just referring to Islam. They have rejected all the religious teachings which were given to them by various religions in the olden times, and they don't stick to the principles of justice, they don't stick to the principles of doing good to the others, etc., the principles of truth, the principles of fair play, and that is what has created hell. So you don't have to go to a physical hell to try to save them. You should enter this spiritual hell which they have themselves created, and they are nurturing it and making it more intensified. So you should tell them, you should analyze the situation. You should say, if you analyze all the world problems confronting man correctly and with wisdom, you will reach only one conclusion after the entire investigation, that they were related to some immorality. They turn into economic problems, they turn into social problems, etc. But at the kernel, at the inner point, you always reach that one single or many complicated issues of immorality. So without solving that, how can you change their hell into heaven? Look at the crime rate in England. They attribute these things to economic problems. But the economic problems themselves emanate from immorality. You see, so many people are now robbing the houses of those who have been slightly remiss in their, in their responsibility to guard the house, protect it. They go leaving it alone without leaving somebody in the care or without informing the police, for instance. Even if they go out for a few days, they return to a shattered home. And even when they are occupying the house, sometimes they are very trained gangs of these modern time skinheads and leather jacketed people. they invade the house like a military operation. Armed with heavy maces and things. They smash the doors and windows and go and tear open the things wherever they suspect they might have been hiding their gold or something, and run away whatever they can, and before anybody else knows, they have, just decamped with the booty and things. Why? It is not an economic compulsion. It is growing sense of immorality and growing sense of being free to answer an authority other than the state authority. The state authority, they can be fooled, and they have full confidence. We can run away with these things, and they have invented new ways by training teenagers which have not reached maturity. The law cannot punish them heavily enough to prevent them from committing crime, because it will be a very small punishment as compared to the crime they have committed. So they have these gangs. I know from one Ahmadi who came to see me the other day, and he told me that they didn't go out anywhere else on holiday. They went out to say the prayer in the mosque. And when they returned, the house was so shattered, and the beds ripped open, and the floors, were taken out in portions to search for. They thought it's an Eastern Oriental family. They must have saved their gold somewhere, and they didn't find any gold. But what the owners of the house found, that was hell. But a hell created by hellish people. You see, sometimes you also suffer from the hell created by others.
Yeah,
Because there is growing sense of irresponsibility, they don't believe that when they die, they will be held answered. There is a system of question and answer which they are going to confront after their death. So, when you are free from accountability, then no amount of legal pressures can keep you on your right path. Because crime is committed in the darkness. Crime is committed even during the daylight in a sort of darkness, in the sense that you will not be seen and caught by the law enforcing authorities. So this is the hopeful darkness you create around you, and then you commit crimes. So without accountability, no society can be morally repaired. But the Christian, the fathers, they move from door to door, they say they have come for moral rearmament, and what they leave behind is only a message that you believe in Jesus Christ, everything will be forgiven. So whether you commit murder, do this and that, everything is just wiped out. So this is what ultimately corrupts societies, the sense of a sort of freedom from accountability. And this is what is destroying the third world countries. I'm talking of this England and Western countries, not to single them out. Only by way of illustration they first came to my mind. In Pakistan, whatever is happening, there is no accountability. The mullahs have totally failed to breed a sense of accountability into the people. Now, when they abduct innocent children, when they kill those innocent children in their custody whose parents fail to pay the ransom, absolutely clean in their heart, they have no fear whatsoever. So it is atheism ultimately. In the final analysis, hell is atheism. That is what I meant to be away from God is hell. So they may believe in some, imaginary world of their own, sort of a mythical belief in God, but that doesn't mean anything. God, if he does exist, and he does exist, has to be taken as a reality. And the moment he begins to recede into some regions farther from your consciousness, there begins the journey to atheism. And it is that distance which creates hell. Nothing more, nothing else. So when you understand these problems, then of course you can work towards attempting to create a heaven for the people you take pity on.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you have said. But some religious and innocent people have to suffer all this.
Yes, those religious and innocent people you consider religious and innocent, when they are in a position to commit wrongs to others, they also do it. You see? It is a matter of who is in government. Those in Africa, this is what's happening. When somebody in government commits atrocities against others, hue and cry is raised. But when those who are underneath them, they come to power, they do the same and even worse. What's happening in Rwanda? It is those who said, we have been wrong, we have been subjugated, we have been oppressed by dictatorial rules, and we have been committed, wrongs have been committed of the gravest nature against us. They claim. Now to rise to power, they have committed much worse wrong against humanity. You see the bodies flowing into the rivers, stolen bodies of innocent children, women, men, old people. What sort of revenge are they taking against whom? So don't consider them innocent people. Allah will not permit them to be punished like that. Only exceptionally sometimes it happens that somebody puts a house to fire and the people inside are innocent. They of course suffer. I don't deny that. But that is an exceptional case. Mostly humanity as a whole deserves punishment. So according to the Quranic principle, some of them are permitted by God to punish others, and in turn they are also punished by others. So you are living in a totality of hell, trying to create small islands of heaven within the hell. Okay?
Very much.
I hope there is no but after this.
No, it's not. It's no
Because there is no time left either.
Okay.
Good. So it was a very interesting discussion we had together. Hope we meet again, inshallah, and bring some more Nigerians, because many of them who come to England, they sometimes disappear
Yeah,
slowly.
Imam Sahib has
And distance from Markaz practically amounts to distance from God. So they also create small hells here and there. Okay.
okay.
Assalamu alaikum. And they should also be shown. Say,